and welcome back to the baseline. It's going to be a special one today, as we are going to talk probably one of my favorite topics in the off season, and that's the Hall of Fame. And I have a special guest with me today, and it's my good buddy Al. Al, how you doing?
Great, Jordan. Thank you for having me as always. I love talking baseball in general, Hall of Fame specifically. Thank you for bringing me in on this, and I can't wait to get going. This is going to be fun.
I know 100%, and I know we were talking and stuff, but yeah, this is probably, like I said, my favorite topic ever because I just like to see which players got in, who got the 75%, who didn't, and I don't know, it just makes me excited. Like I feel like a kid
Yeah,
when it comes to this stuff, really.
totally, man. Totally. It takes me back to unwrapping my baseball card packs, chewing that crappy gum that tasted like dust and cotton candy, and and uh, and but it was the best gum ever because it came with a pack of baseball cards, which had stats, which I think any real hardcore baseball fans we're all stat nerds, and the Hall of Fame feeds that big time because it's all about a career compilation of stats and achievements. It's just awesome. I love it.
Oh yeah, 100%. And yeah, as well as everyone knows, the 2025 ballot uh, got introduced this past week, and two headliners who, in my mind, I think are great Hall of Famers and probably definitely up there, and that would be Ichiro and CC Sabathia.
Man, this is a two names to start with, and yeah, I think they're both Hall of Famers, 100%. I think Ichiro is first ballot. I'm not 100% on CC being first ballot, although you could make a great case for it. It just if it wasn't for how notorious sports writers can be curmudgeonly about that kind of thing, I would say maybe, but I think he's probably going to take a couple years. But both Hall of Famers for sure.
Oh, 100%. And let's start with Ichiro. And I mean, I don't know where you could start. This guy has probably one of, if not the best Japanese-born players to ever come from Japan. He has been your typical leadoff hitter.
Yes.
Really, he hit for contact and stole bases, which around that time, that's what a leadoff man did. And now you have a guy who leads off and hits 20 home runs, which is not to me not your typical leadoff hitter.
Or in the Phillies' case, 45 home runs. Schwarber. I
So,
mean, if you
oh
had told me
yeah,
Kyle Schwarber would be leading off for a professional baseball team 15 years ago, I would have told you you're insane. But that's just how they look at it now. You know what I mean? But I'm with you. Ichiro is the old school prototype leadoff hitter. Absolutely. Steals, average, the whole package.
oh yeah, 100%. And combined between him and here in the U.S. and Japan, he's got over 4,000 career hits if you were to combine um, both leagues, which is still remarkable to say. And what even here in Japan, he debuted in 2001, and he was 27 years old.
Yeah, 27 years old. And tell me another player you remember that had 242 hits in their first professional Major League Baseball season.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing. That's another thing. He is the all-time single season hit leader.
Yeah, with that was it the 262 hit season?
Yeah, and what he beat the record by I think what it was like 19 or something crazy like that. He beat the record by.
Man, I mean, that's he was one of a kind, man. He was one of a kind and the last of a breed at the same time. He was that guy that I don't know. I have his stats up. Let me see what the most home runs he ever hit was 15. So that's so he's in that category with some of my favorite players of all time. with guys like Tony Gwynn.
Mm,
Um, uh, who else was I saying earlier? Jordan, Tony Gwynn. Rod Carew, Wade Boggs. Those are the guys that I consider really good comps with Ichiro, and
mm.
I just love watching that kind. Those kind of guys don't really exist that much anymore. There's still what's the guy that plays for San Diego now? That used to be in the average guy. Who's the guy that hits for average? I have the wrong.
Oh, Luis Reyes.
Thank you, my man. Thank you. Yes, he started in Minnesota a while back. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's kind of like he's popped up as one of those guys again, but they're few and far between anymore. League used to be littered with guys kind of like that. But Ichiro is one of the best of that type that ever played.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And even probably definitely puts his name up there along with well, probably two players, as one of the greatest Mariners players to play for that organization.
No doubt. No doubt.
You know, you got what Ken Griffey, what Edgar, and he's probably third on that list.
Yeah, I
Really?
mean, geez. I mean, wow. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, and yeah, if we're going position players, I would have to say third. Yep, because Edgar played almost his whole, if not his whole career there, so he gets bonus
Hmm.
points for playing so long in Seattle. And Griffey
Yep.
is, one of the greatest players of all time, as Ichiro is, but Griffey's even a cut above. So, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to go look at pitchers beyond that to find anybody worthy. So yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Yeah, Ichiro, whew, what a player.
Yeah, 100%, and definitely up there. Do you think he becomes unanimous?
He should, but that doesn't mean he will because baseball writers are baseball writers. There's
Hey,
been
well,
how many you do you know off the top of your head? I'll look it up if not. How many unanimous Hall of Fame votes there have been ever?
I think just the one.
And
I
who
think
was it?
Mo.
Right, right.
He was the only one because I think Griffey lost by 3, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was like 97.9 or something stupid like that, and then Jeter missed one.
Man, and you think about that, right? And so I'm going to have to say no. Because you think about I mean, Babe Ruth wasn't a first ballot Hall of Fame. Like that,
Yeah.
like, like Jackie Robinson, you
Mm,
name you name the guy and they weren't if it wasn't, Mariano Rivera. So yeah, and you're right. I looked it up too just to confirm, and he's the only one, and that was in 2019, and that's the Hall of Fame started in I think 1936. So that means it took almost 90 years to get a unanimous vote out of the baseball writers,
Which is
which is hilarious.
it's that still bothers me to this day because you had
Same.
so many great, not even players, pitchers, that were great before Mo. And not saying that Mo doesn't deserve it, the all-time saves leader, and all that. But you mentioned some of the guys, Gwynn, Babe Ruth,
Yeah.
you know,
Lou Gehrig.
the
I mean, on it,
yeah, at least one of the uh the I call them the three-headed monster the Atlanta had, Maddox, Schultz, and Glavine, Griffey, all these guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
When
you could honestly probably come up with a list of like 100 players who should have been first ballot Hall of Famers. I mean, Roberto Clemente. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know,
and it kills me that no one got 100%,
yeah,
and I'm happy Mo got it and finally came on, but that I don't know, that bothers me way too
yeah,
much.
it's crazy. Cy Young, who the award was named after, was not a first ballot Hall of
Yeah,
Fame.
uh, I don't know.
I love
It's
it, man. Yeah, it's just because baseball writers are quirky dudes. And I love the ones that are great. I love. There's plenty of them out there that I love. But there are guys out there that do it. They wield their vote like some kind of weapon. You know what I mean? Like some kind of like, I'm going to show you, I'm going to prove this point, even though I never understand what point they're trying to make anyway. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's just weird, and they're odd about it. That I Bill Conlon from Philly famously didn't vote for. Oh wait, and I don't think it was even that he didn't vote for him, which he didn't. I don't think he put him on the ballot. Nolan Ryan, his first year. It was crazy, like it was insane, that to do. And then he tried to justify it by saying he didn't have enough wins or something, whatever his stupid justification was. It doesn't matter who you are or what you think. Nolan Ryan should have been in the first ballot Hall of Famer. It's crazy. So yeah. So
yeah,
I'm going to say Ichiro's not going to be just based on the odds, but he should be.
yeah. Um, but yeah, anyway, that's that's our take on Ichiro. Um,
Love it.
definitely first ballot. Unanimous. It's still up in the air. Um, Now, one guy I think, and I don't know if you agree with me now, who might not be first ballot, I think he might be second, is CC Sabathia.
Yeah.
Um, you know, tremendous career. He had a phenomenal career with Cleveland. That little stint he had with Milwaukee, which I still don't know how they didn't win the playoffs that year.
Yeah,
And then
really.
and then his time with New York, which was great. I mean, I'm looking at his numbers right now. They're not terrible. I mean, he has 251 wins, an ERA of 3.74, and 3,093 career strikeouts.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy, man, because he is a lot like, having watched him his whole career, he certainly felt like a Hall of Famer to me, no doubt about it. But his numbers aren't like what the modern stat nerds, who I am one, uh, tend to love. Like his whip is very high for a Hall of Famer. Not very high, but relatively high, 1.26. You know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
the only problem with CC, and listen, he's a Hall of Famer, he's going to get in, but he had some very bad years, and it blew up his numbers a little bit. Like he had that 2013 year where his ERA was 4.78. You know,
Right.
and that was a full season. That was over 211 innings. That wasn't just some injured year. So it shows up in his stats at the end. Like his WHIP that year was 1.37. So that tends to blow up his numbers a little bit. But dude was a Hall of Fame pitcher, no doubt about it, man. It might take him a couple years to get in because of the numbers aren't pristine. But I think anybody that watched baseball while he played knows this dude's in the Hall of Fame eventually.
Oh, yeah, and I think this is a guy, I mean, back then, you don't see much of them now, but I think he was probably part of that group of guys that didn't throw hard, but they made a difference. And I can think of a couple of guys within the past 10 years that have done it. One of them, a Hall of Fame, who's in the Hall of Fame, I mean, we both know it very well, Roy Halladay.
Oh
I think
yes.
he was one of the greatest pitchers to do it. And then a guy who's not in the Hall of Fame, and I know this is a name that is going to be put out like out of thin air. Chris Carpenter of the
Oh,
St. Louis Cardinals.
Cardinals,
I
absolutely.
I think these are the pitchers who their last they were literally the last guys who came in and pitched. They weren't worried about the radar gun. They weren't worried about you know I gotta get my team at least 7 innings. No, they pitch their heart out, and you don't see pitchers do that enough in today's game. It's the fourth inning, and they're already throwing 90 pitches.
I love it,
It's
man. No, that's a great point, Jordan. It really is. And to back up what you're saying, he had a, let me see here, a 1, 2, 3, 4, a 5 season run from '07 to 11, where he pitched 241, 253, 230, 237 and two thirds, 237 and a third innings.
Wow.
I mean, did
Yeah.
anybody in Major League Baseball pitch 250 innings this year?
Not to my knowledge. No.
Yeah, not to mine either. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's rare. It's like a rare few anymore that cross 200. And he did that for 5 seasons in a row at one point, and had many other seasons over 200 innings as well. So yeah, you're right. And we talked about Ichiro being the one of the like a somewhat of a dying breed in that pure hitter realm, and Sabathia is one of those in that that ace, put the team on your back and pitch 9 innings if you have to that night. You know
Mhm.
that Jack
And
Morris type thing.
oh yeah, I mean, we could talk about Jack. Do a podcast on Jack Morris.
We should do
Um.
a podcast sometime where we just like listen and react to the a replay of that game where he went 10 innings.
Oh
You know,
my, I think that's my favorite World Series game.
it's awesome.
Him. Well, he went against Smokes that year. That
Yep,
game.
yep, exactly.
Oh, that's my. I actually think it is one of the on the top 10 greatest games. We'll have to find it and do a live reaction to because I think both of them are sitting in the seats with Bob Costas, and they're both watching the game and then talking about it. Which we gotta do that.
I'm
I think
in.
that's probably I think that's probably one of the greatest World Series game in history.
It's one of the
Just
best. It might be the best game I ever saw in my life. It's
yeah,
unbelievable.
probably that, and probably Kirk Gibson when two broken legs. He needs a
Oh,
home run.
and I was sitting in front of the TV watching that when it happened, and it was unbelievable. Yeah, no, it was amazing.
Oh, 100%.
And I was a big fan of that A's team. And like it was like the A's version of the Phillies Macho Row with all the McGuire and Canseco and all that. And I couldn't believe the Dodgers were beating them. And then when Kirk Gibson did that, I said, "All right, forget the A's. I'm a Dodger fan now for the rest of the series."
It's just crazy to think about, because that game, I don't know, it's like watching a movie.
Yeah, it really is.
It was watching a movie. You don't know the what the outcome was. People didn't think Kirk Gibson was gonna play because he wasn't in the lineup. He
Yep,
wasn't
yep.
in the dugout. And then all of a sudden, here he comes, and I still get chills listening to Vince Scully, doing the whole, she
Oh,
is gone, when it hit into right field.
so good. And as you're talking about it, I can see him doing his little arm pump as he's rounding first base.
Yep, yep.
Ah, beautiful.
It
I'm right
was,
there with you, my friend.
it's probably one of the greatest games. You know what? Now maybe we should do that. We should do, because we do the top 10 greats. Maybe we should do like our version of top 10 World Series moments.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I'll have to write that down somewhere and think of that, and we'll, me, and Craig could do our top World Series moments ever.
I love that. But just right off the bat, nobody's allowed to use Joe Carter because I'm a Philly fan. I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
except for that. Except for
No, I'm
that.
kidding. You can use it. It was a great.
Oh man, oh, that's great. But yeah, no, back to CC. Yeah, I think, and when I say last of his kind, is I think when he retired, you barely saw any pitcher go complete games and anymore because he was around that era, and I mentioned two of them, which there's a crazy amount number of how Holiday and Carpenter, like how many complete games they have, but they he literally, like you said, put the uh, put the team on his back, and he made sure that they were, it was his game. Hey guys, listen. I'm shutting this team down, and now we let's go. And 2009, I think, is the perfect example. He's the ace of that club in '09 when they won the World Series.
No doubt. Nah, he's. I mean, he put teams on his shoulders. He really did, and he was a wonderful player. He was a wonderful
Yeah.
player. I would not argue in any way against him getting in. I just think his numbers are just a little to the point where it's going to take a couple years because you're going to have some stats nerds maybe going against him a little bit. But I'm
Right.
100% for it, and it'll happen for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. And then another year, 2009 with Milwaukee. That when he got traded over from Cleveland, that team, was a phenomenal team of the second half.
Oh, I mean, good lord, he went 11-2 with a 1.65 ERA in 17 games for that Milwaukee team.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
which is another team that because I know when we did what shortstops, and we were talking about that crazy '95 team with Seattle.
yeah.
Milwaukee, how did they not win that year? You had what? Prince Fielder, Ryan Braun, Corey Hart. Um, I'm trying to think of Ramirez. I think Adonis Ramirez was the third baseman around that time.
Oh
Yeah,
man, Ricky
uh,
Ricky Weeks and JJ
yeah,
Hardy.
yeah. I'm surprised that team didn't win.
Yeah, Ryan Braun before all the injuries.
Yeah, that team was so stacked.
Yeah, that was a hell of a
Yeah,
team, man. That's a good call. That's a good call.
yeah. But they lost to the better team, as we know. The Phillies in '08 because there was no stopping that team either. Um,
Well, yeah, thank goodness because they could have gotten cut down by that buzzsaw, you know. So thank goodness they did.
oh man, but yeah. Well, speaking of another pitcher who was way ahead of his prime, um, this is his last and final year on the ballot. And I know there's people who don't know the Hall of Fame ballot. You're on it for 10 years until you are no longer allowed or no longer eligible on the ballot until like the committee ends up voting you in. But it still bothers me that he is not in the Hall of Fame. And Al, I want your opinion on it. Billy Wagner, how is he not in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know, dude. Like I'm so with you. I was glad when we were talking pre pod, just giving a little bit of an idea what we were going to talk about, that you brought this guy up immediately because he is one of my big bones to pick with the Hall of Fame committee for sure. Listen, he was in Philly for 2 years, and I know how good this guy is. He was
Mm-hmm.
incredible. I remember watching him rise up with Houston. He's an unusual stature for such a great closer. He's a little short for a closer, but he was one of the hardest throwers I've ever seen in my life. And what a beast, man! And his numbers are clearly Hall of Fame. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't even I've never even heard an argument against him. Really, I don't know why it hasn't happened. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because I can't. I've never been able to really
I,
figure it out other than just like disinterest or something. I don't know.
I don't know either. And you mentioned his numbers. I mean, 422 career saves, and his ERA is not that bad. It's 2.31 career ERA,
That's
and
incredible. Like that's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah, especially for a closer. Like it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's
His whip
great
is
numbers.
under one. His whip is .998. Like this, we just talked about CC going to the Hall of Fame and deservedly so. His whip is in the 1.27, and his ERA was in the high threes. So like you
Yeah,
see, like Billy Wagner has a clear case here. You know what I
and
mean?
and, and you want to know what? I remember because over on the MLB Network, Sean Casey, he was saying that he was like an early version of Mo. He's like, as soon as you saw him coming out, you went to your teammates and like, up guys, but we're done. We're not scoring any runs. We lost. Like,
Right. Yeah, he was lights out, man. Lights out.
and I don't know what the bug is. And you want to know what he reminds me of? And he didn't, because this guy didn't go to the Hall of Fame. Um, he reminds me of Jeff Kent.
That's a good one. Now, I will say this because the thing I've always heard with Jeff Kent is the steroid suspicion, which puts a pall over that whole era, for hitters. But I never heard any of that with Billy Wagner.
No, Billy Wagner is probably, what would you say, definitely top three closers of all time.
I mean, man, I'd have to look at a list, Jordan. Let me pull something up here and we can get into that.
Yeah.
By the way, I didn't realize he was only five votes shy on his ninth year in the ballot.
Yes, which
Oh,
kind of, to me, I think he will get in because this also happened the same year, time with Edgar when they were debating about Edgar Martinez because he was only a designated hitter. Um, and his years, he was like in the low 30 votes and the low 40s. But then once Ortiz retired, his numbers went up because Ortiz is also a designated hitter, and then his, like, I think Eggers was like 10 votes away in the last year on the ballot. He ended up getting in.
okay. Man, well,
Yeah.
hopefully, yeah. I mean, he really deserves it. So, okay, so here's a list. Now, this
Mm-hmm.
list, and you know how these lists are. I'd have to look at like a few of them before I get a consensus. But this is Yard Barker has Billy Wagner number 12 closer of all time. Now, let's see. Let's go to number one and go through and see if there's anybody we don't agree with. So,
Mm-hmm.
number one obviously is Mo.
Okay. Yeah,
Two,
that
Trevor Hoffman. I'm good with that. He's
mm-hmm.
unbelievable. Three, Raleigh Fingers.
Oh yeah,
Now I
that
love Raleigh and
I do too.
definitely the best mustache.
Oh yeah, the handlebar mustache.
Heck yeah, heck yeah.
Oh my God, wait, you're gonna love this. So, earlier tonight on the MLB Network, they had Raleigh Fingers on as a guest.
Oh, cool.
So they asked him about his handlebar mustache. So they were saying, I forgot what the year was, but Reggie Jackson came in. He had a full beard on and everything, and this was before like no team ever had facial hair. But
Mm-hmm.
Reggie Jackson refused to shave it.
Yep.
So one of the guys, because I'm like, you know what? Let's all grow up mustaches. So Raleigh Fingers goes on. He goes, the only reason I grew this damn thing was because uh, I forgot, is either the manager or someone else that put on, whoever has a mustache on opening day is gonna get $300. So Raleigh Fingers is like, oh, screw this. I'm getting that $300. So that's the only reason he grew the mustache,
Oh,
was
that's
to get $300.
maybe the most iconic facial hair in the history of baseball, and it was all to get a $300 bonus.
Yep.
Oh, that's
Which,
awesome. I can't
and
believe I never heard that, Jordan. That's awesome.
oh yeah, it was so funny.
Oh, I love
And
that.
and he still wears it, what, like 50 something years later, he still has it.
That's so awesome, man. I
Mm,
freaking love it. All right. Well, after the mustache is maybe this guy might be my personal favorite or reliever of all time, and that's Dennis Eckersley.
yeah. Eckersley was a great closer. He was he was like Mo before Mo even existed. Really,
Yeah,
he was one
man.
of the greatest. He was the greatest closer of all time during his era.
Yeah, he really was. He was. I mean, he won the Cy Young and the MVP as a closer in 1992. Can
Mm-hmm.
you believe that? Like, I mean, that's
Yep.
that. I mean, that might never happen again. I mean, I don't think
No.
Class A was even in the discussion for it this year with the season he had, and it was a great, great season. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think he finished third behind. Oh my God, I'm blanking on? Scuba won, and then whoever else was there around that year.
shoot. Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Somebody, yeah, it doesn't matter, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I bet he didn't even make the top 10 in MVP, right?
Crosser, yeah, no.
Yeah. I mean, imagine a closer winning MVP. That's what Eckersley did that in
That's gonna
'92.
be. I don't think you're ever gonna see that again.
I agree.
You know, pitcher maybe. You know, because we've had a lot of great pitchers in their years. I mean, I think Verlander was the last one to do it back in what 2011,
Hmm.
I believe.
I think you're right.
Um, and you know, we have great closers. Like I wouldn't be surprised if like down the road, you know, Paul Skinks from Pittsburgh ends up doing it
Yes.
again. You know, but yeah, I don't think we'll ever see a reliever ever do it. Relievers, I have to say, relievers aren't as good as they used to be.
No, it's a whole different thing now. It's different.
Yeah.
They're used differently. It's different. The only chance a reliever ever has, I think, to win MVP again is if you get another run like Josh Hader had like 5 or 6 years ago when he was in his prime. He had that good, like he had like
Hmm.
5 or 6 years where he wasn't even necessarily the closer for the first couple of years of that, and they were using him 2, 3 innings at a pop, and he would, as a reliever, he was pitching 120 innings a year, which is
Yeah.
crazy. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it would have to be in that kind of circumstance, maybe, where and he would have to accumulate a bunch of wins and saves, I think, probably along the way. But yeah, it would take a unbelievably hard to imagine set of circumstances. Now,
Oh, I
real
agree.
quick
Yeah.
here, Jordan. Just
Hmm.
run. I'm going to run through the guys that are they list ahead of Billy Wagner, so we can come back to our Billy Wagner thing. And starting at about here, I think Billy Wagner is equal to, and you could make a case up or down if you really want to with any of them. But I would put him about even to starting at number 5 with Bruce Sutter. Who have you ever watched him pitch in any of the old games? Do you ever see his splitter?
Yes.
Okay, because he was the first time I ever heard about a split finger fastball was because of Bruce Sutter. So he invented a pitch. You know what I mean, or at least
Yeah.
made it popular.
Hmm. Yeah.
um, and he was a hell of a pitcher. And then you go to another one I love, Lee Smith,
Oh, yeah. Lee Smith.
one of the maybe the most intimidating looking closer to ever play the game. He was 6'6". Yeah, 6'6", 260. That's a big man.
Jesus. Yeah.
He could have been a defensive end.
Uh
And then,
huh.
another one of my favorites, and being a fan of who you are, I'm sure you're a fan of Rich Goose Gossage.
Oh, yeah. Talking about another famous mustache.
Yes, yes, for sure, for sure. And there were
Oh,
times when they were playing each other in the playoffs. It was the battle of the stashes coming out of the pen.
I
Another
mean,
one, and this guy had maybe the greatest rookie season, if I remember right, of any closer. Was it his rookie season? Maybe I'm wrong. You help me remember here, and that's Francisco Frankie Rodriguez,
K-Rod, yeah.
K Rod. He had
He wait, he has like the most saves in seasons. Like it's something crazy. Like what 63, I think it is.
oh, you're awesome, man. 62. I can't believe you got it that close.
Oh
That's
wow.
awesome. Yep, and that's
Yeah.
that season. I had him on my fantasy team.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I like Francisco Rodriguez, but I don't think he's better than Billy Wagner.
I'm with
He
you
got
now.
hurt.
I'm going to pull up the stats, but in my head, and you tell me what you think. Frankie was kind of a top heavy career in that he was incredible early and not so hot late. Whereas
Yeah.
Billy Wagner was a lot more consistent the whole way through.
Hmm.
Let's
So I agree. He got hurt way too much, especially with the year. Well, I think his last couple of years he was with the Mets. He fell off a cliff like so fast.
yeah, let's take a look at this. And I have Billy pulled up already, and now I'm getting Frankie. Um, okay, so we already did Billy's ERA and all that. Let's see. Francisco K Rod ended up 2.86. Billy beats that.
Hmm.
Saves 437. Billy was right around that number. Oh, 422. So K Rod edges him out there by 15. Um, The whip for K Rod 1.155. That's a significantly higher than Billy, but still very good. Better than I thought it would have been. Actually, that's really good. um,
Yeah.
and what other number? Oh, strikeouts. Innings pitched 976 and 1142 strikeouts for K Rod. And Billy pitched 903 innings and struck out 1196. So his Ks per nine were higher than K Rod.
Yeah, but I feel like that's what you need from your closer. And like you said, he was consistent throughout his whole career.
Yeah, that was. I mean, yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, like they're both very, very good closers, but I would take Billy over. That's the first one where I would clearly take Billy for sure. I would make you could make a case for him on almost everybody that I listed so far after the top three or four. But this one I would
Mm.
definitely take Billy.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think so too.
All right. So that was number 8. A couple more. We got well, this guy's tough to even compare to modern times, but Hoyt Wilhelm. Hoyt Wilhelm, the knuckleballing, the guy would pitch like 150 innings a year as a closer. you know.
Yep.
So he's tough to even compare. I don't even know how he's just in his own category. I can't even compare him to Billy Wagner. What do you think about that one?
No, yeah, yeah, that might be like a little iffy. Right there. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, you are right. He is definitely in his own category.
Yeah, he's
Um,
unique.
yeah.
Okay, now I love unique pitching forms, you know.
Mhm.
And this next guy has one of the best ones ever, Dan Quisenberry,
Right. Trying to think of.
the old
I'm not going.
Submariner.
Oh, yep. Hmm.
He pitched for Kansas City in the George Brett era and was
Yep.
yeah, he was awesome, man. He was fun to watch. He would dip down. I mean, his arm slot would change from time to time and year to year sometimes, but at its lowest, he would scrape dirt sometimes, man. He was fun to watch.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Like it was weird because I think Brett himself said he's like it was interesting to watch because then there's sometimes like you go on you see like little specks of dirt just pop up.
That sounds right.
It's so he was so weird, but I liked it.
That's awesome. And honestly, Quisenberry's stats don't really hold up to Billy Wagner's, um, but he was great. But I would take Billy Wagner over him. They're both awesome though.
Yeah, no, I would too.
And then the last
Um,
guy ahead of him that they have, and this is another New York guy, but the other team, and he was great, but I'd still take Billy over him, and that's John Franco.
yeah, no, I would take Wagner over Franco as well.
Yeah, so it seems like you and me are at the very least putting Billy Wagner at 7 or 8 on this poll. That's at the very least, and we could parse it out and probably put him up a little higher if we really wanted to, right?
Yeah, but
And
yeah,
so how's
I
that not in
don't
the Hall of Fame, Jordan?
know. I mean, I don't know, and I don't know what the excuse is. Like why? Because like he is, he was a great closer. Was I think he's definitely up there with the guys you named. Um, he I needs his like he has his name in history. Like he was one guy, and it's hard to do even now. And I'm also probably around his time he was consistent through the whole career, and to even get up to 400 strikeouts or saves, sorry, to me is still impressive because I don't think anyone now and it will even get close to where he's at. They might reach 400, but I don't think they're gonna get to where he's now. Like closers are so different from when he was playing.
It's absolutely. No, he it was I just don't I can't make sense of it. I really can't. It's hopefully so he's got one last run, right?
Yes, this is his last year before he is going to the community ballot.
Yes, which used to be the Veterans Committee, and now they're calling it like the ERA something or something, right?
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Um,
Classic baseball era. I think that's what they called it.
right on. Right on. Well, hopefully he gets in, man. I mean, you and I are 100% in agreement here. He should absolutely be. Yeah, and again, I don't see or agree with anybody who would try and make a case that he's not.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I hope he gets in. I would love for him to get in. He deserves it 100%, and fingers crossed for him. He really really deserves
Right there with you, my friend. Right there with you.
it.
Do you have anybody
um,
else like that? Is there anybody else in your mind like that?
um, like Billy Wagner. I got two that might because they're one I know I'm kind of confused on why he's not. Um, and then one I go up and down with every year,
Okay.
but I saw him more towards his later years, so when his downfall. But
Mhm.
I don't know which one should I go for. You know what? Actually, I'll go for the guy who I haven't seen play a lot.
Okay.
But you know him because he was on the Phillies. Bobby Abreu.
Oh,
He,
I was going to bring him up, and I'm so glad you did. So
he-
glad you did. You go ahead,
it's
say whatever you want to say, and I already have stuff pulled up about Bobby to talk about. That's so awesome.
Bobby Abreu. It's hard for me because I liked him. I remember my early years of watching baseball with my grandfather and with my father, which
Mm-hmm.
was around. My earliest was 2004, but to know like Bobby Abreu was like 2007, 2008 when he was with the New York Yankees,
Okay.
and I do, and yes, like that's more going to his down years. But even when he left and he played with the Angels, he was still a threat in the lineup every time. And I remember even hearing sportscasters being like, oh, when he was in his prime, but then I'm watching the game and he takes a guy deep like 400 feet at Angel Stadium, which is kind of very hard to do in around that area. He was a good player, and the stats here kind of like they're borderline, but they're not terrible. He's got a 291 average, 288 career home runs. And if you want to go by OPS, his OPS is .810.
His OPS is ridiculous. Like his OPS is a he the here's okay. Do you mind if I give you a little Bobby Abreu dissertation?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Because this guy, to me, this guy is one of the most underrated players, maybe the most underrated player of his entire generation. And part of the reason I'm convinced because I saw his, he started in Houston, but he only played, a handful of games in 2 years with Houston before coming to Philly. And if I remember right, he was a. I'll have to, I don't want to say and be wrong, but I think he was a Rule 5 draft pick, and which makes him maybe the greatest Rule 5 draft pick of all time. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and he came to Philly and was awesome from the get go. He had a stretch of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 seasons, including the one in '06 where he got traded halfway through the year to the Yankees, all right, where his lowest OPS was .877, and the 6 of those years the OPS was over 900. So he's a beast. Now, here's the problem. In Philly, they didn't like him. The media painted him as a lazy, kind of like didn't really give a crap guy, which was garbage. He was a great player who hustled and did everything right. But the problem was the Philly media didn't like him because he wasn't Chase Utley. He wasn't like a guy who got his jersey dirty every game. You know what I mean? I love Chase. That's not, I love, he's beloved in Philly for a reason. But the Philly media just never took to him. It happened to Dick Allen too, who's another guy. Do you know that name, Dick Allen? I think he came up on one of our maybe our third base pod.
Yes, I do. Yep.
Okay, one of the greatest power hitters in Major League Baseball history, and was just destroyed by the Philadelphia media in his time there. And Bobby kind of got a little bit less of a hatred, but a similar kind of like, we don't really care about you treatment. And it's cost him in his perception for the rest of his career, I'm convinced. And that's traveled through to this Hall of Fame voting. And you find me, I don't know how many Hall of Famers or non Hall of Famers out there have a OPS over 870 for their career. That's insane. Do you know the highest OPS, by the way, of anybody not in the Hall of Fame, Jordan? Have you ever heard this?
No, I haven't.
It's Gary Sheffield. Now, Gary Sheffield is known. He was a steroid guy, and we know it. So he's in that category. Of what do we do with those guys? He's got some of the
Mhm.
best numbers of anybody not in the Hall of Fame, and that's a really good conversation to get into. But his OPS was .907. Now, Abreu never tested positive for anything, and his OPS is not that far below that. So I don't know, man. He's got one of the highest OPSs of any player not to be in the Hall of Fame. I think he was a great fielder too. He had a cannon for an arm, and
Mhm.
until he hit his early 30s, he was a pretty damn good right fielder. So anyway, that's my Bobby Abreu. Hit on one of my key. It gets me going talking about Abreu because I think he was criminally underappreciated.
No, I agree, and I agree with everything that you said. He is. I don't know. I think out of all these guys so far we have talked about, and I will go more. I think he's underappreciated, even to some of the guys that we've had who just missed the ballot or have fallen off, and you named a couple of them like Gary Sheffield, or we have I can't think of other guys on top of my head, but no, he is very underappreciated. Yes, you said he's not like the Chase Utley's or anything, but on the field and in the batter's box, he did work his butt off. And
No doubt.
I don't know, I still don't know why he doesn't get considered or at least looked at. Because I'm looking at, here's my thing. And we could have a conversation about this and all that stuff. If Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then Bobby Abreu needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
That you just hit on like the best comp. Yep, absolutely,
It,
absolutely.
it, it blows my mind that and listen, I will admit it. As much as I say how much of a baseball nut I am at my age, I haven't heard of Harold Baines until the community voted him in. And I'm like, who, what, Harold Baines? What? I looked at him. His numbers, Bobby Abreu I think has more better numbers than Harold Baines.
Yeah, it's
But like I don't know, it blows my mind. Like if Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame, then you might as well bring in Jermaine Dye. You remember him? He
oh
should
yes,
might as well be in the Hall of Fame. Like
oh yes. Oh, I
it's
love it. I
it's
love it.
I don't know. It gets me going. And then we'll get into the community era ballot in a little bit. But one of the names on that ballot is Dave Parker. And
Mm.
how can we? And I don't know. It gets me going. But Bobby Abreu, I agree 100% with you, Al. It's so underlooked, but because and this actually brings me back to what Craig said, on our shortstops. If you're not loved by the media, then all of a sudden you're the bad guy.
Exactly, and it's a real shame sometimes how that works. And it works an advantage for some people, Big Poppy, for example, and it works to some people's disadvantage. Gary Sheffield, Bobby Abreu, Albert Bell.
Yep,
Um,
that's annoying.
Yeah, those are all guys that the media didn't like, and you can see it in the Hall of Fame voting.
Yep.
It's very interesting. We could do a whole show on just that the '90s and early 2000s guys, steroid era guys. You
You
know,
know,
like
if you, I was gonna say, Alan, I'm sorry to cut you off,
oh
but
please.
if you want to because I know you enjoy football, but you familiar with the beat writer Chris Rose?
Oh sure. Yep.
So he used to do baseball up in MLB Network. Now he has his own podcast.
Okay.
If you have an hour or two to kill,
Hmm.
because he is a diehard Cleveland fan, he interviewed Albert Bell. You
Oh
have
no
to go look it up.
way.
hmm And Albert Bell tells everything from that play he did when he ran over the second baseman to why he left Cleveland. Oh, it's just
Did he talk
fantastic.
about chucking the ball into the stands that one time?
I think so, and
That's
I don't know. I know he just tells it all.
I
He tells
love it, and
everything.
I don't think I've ever heard out because he was in the era when there wasn't a whole lot of you got post game interviews, a couple clips here and there, and that was it. Nobody was doing
Hmm.
long form interviews like in the podcast era now, and I love it. So that
Yeah,
would be awesome. I can't imagine getting to listen to a whole hour of Albert Bell. That's awesome. I'm so glad you told me.
yeah, yeah. No, it's so good to listen to. So if you want, like I said, you have an hour to kill one day, just go and listen to that.
Oh heck yeah, and I know Chris Rose, man. I mean, he used to be best damn sports show ever.
Well, you know what? It's funny that you mentioned that because he went from that, and then there was a show back then, and once I say the name, you're gonna know how funny this show was. But he did a thing. I want to say the show came up in 2012, and he ended up doing a show. You want to know who his co-host was?
Who?
Kevin Millar.
No way. Oh yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that actually. I remember
yeah,
that.
they did a thing. It was called Intentional Talk, and they still do it.
Yes,
But
I totally remember that. Good call.
I
Yes.
I think now he does it with Ryan Dempster. So
Dempster, no kidding.
yeah, now that's we talk about wacky batting stances with Sheffield. That was a guy who pitched weird. Um,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
the wiggle of the
Absolutely.
glove. But yeah, no, but yeah, he did his own podcast, and like I said, he interviewed Albert Bell, which I thought was a great hour of my life.
Oh, I'm all over it. Thank you for that heads up, man. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
but
Okay,
yeah,
wait
so
now. So who's your other guy? Because we are obviously on the same page on Abreu, and you had another
okay,
one.
so my other guy, and I think he's got 2 or 3 more years on the ballot. I want to say two. My gut's saying two. Uh, he's kind of similar to Abreu, but I think he's a little bit better, and that's Andrew Jones.
That's a good one.
And he is somehow lost in the shuffle of, like, I honestly think one year, I'll have to look it up. I don't remember what his numbers were. I think there was one year he got lost between Manny Ramirez and Alex Rodriguez in the numbers, and Manny hasn't gone higher than 20%.
Yeah, it's weird because I mean I remember when he came on the scene, and for a long time he was one of the best defensive center fielders in the game. Now,
Hmm?
that was different the last, obviously because he played till he was, early 40s. So he wasn't that for the last 7, 8 years of his career, but he was always good. And that one season you're talking about, he had 51 home runs, 128 RBIs. Um, yeah, no, he was, let me look at some numbers here too, because I'm trying to think about why he wouldn't be considered. I mean, he's got 434 home runs. You get over 400 home runs, and you're well in the ballpark. His career WAR is 62.7. Okay, that's interesting because that career WAR number. Now, you had mentioned some of the guys that were in the classic committee or whatever we're calling the old timers
Yeah.
now.
Hmm?
And one of them was Ken Boyer. and
Mhm.
his career WAR was almost exactly the same as Andrew Jones at 62.7 for Jones, and Ken somewhere right around there. Because remember, I had Ken on the top, like at the near the like maybe 9 or 10 on my all-time third baseman list.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to remember if he's in the Hall of Fame. Let me just look that up real quick, because when you get into that 60, that low 60 area seems to be a real hot button number for getting into the Hall of Fame or not. Is Ken okay? So Ken's not in the Hall of Fame either, but his stats are right. I mean, like he has a good case, and that's why. Well, duh, he's obviously not in there. We wouldn't be talking about him on this Veterans Committee or whatever it's called anymore. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and his WAR is 62.8. What did I just say? Jones is 62.7. They're right in that exact ballpark, man. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. But I don't know, it kind of bugs me that Andrew Jones, because like you said, he was one of the greatest center fielders around that time. And I don't know, from the stories I heard, people were comparing him. And some people are actually saying he was a National League Ken Griffey Jr. He, he made every play. He was great defensively. He, I believe he was a switch hitter. Um, and he,
No, he
the
just hit right.
numbers.
He just hit right.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
okay though. No worries.
Sorry. I'm thinking of Chipper Jones. I don't know why.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah, that. Yep, yep.
but I don't know, like his numbers aren't bad. They aren't terrible. I don't think he's ever been judged by PEDs or anything. So what
Not that
is
I
their
remember.
excuse? Yeah, so what is their excuse? Why is he not
I
in the Hall of Fame?
there was a that I'm trying to think of how to put this into words, having lived through and watched most of his career. There was a perception. There seemed to me to be a perception shift about him somewhere about within a couple years of that big season. Now that's so far, and I don't know why or what. I'm looking at the stats here. He had that monster year we talked about. That was '05, and that was his rookie year was '97. So he had already been in the league plenty by then and put up a lot of good numbers. And then he had that crazy exceptional year. The following year, he had 41 home runs and 129 RBI, so another great year. Then from that point on, he tapered off and was never. He had one more full time year that was decent, and then from that point on, he was never great again. But that's a 12-year run of greatness. You know what I mean? And then still some solid years after that playing part time. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't explain it because I mean, he's a 10-time gold glover. Like, that's a lot of damn gold gloves. you
Yeah,
know? He was a silver slugger guy, 5-time All-Star. I don't know, man. And then you tally up the numbers and they're right up there with Hall of Famers. His OPS is .823. Like, everything adds up to at the very least borderline on the inside of the Hall of Fame for me. At the very least.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but I kind of want to bring him up because I thought he was the same thing with as a Bobby Abreu.
I'm right there with you, man. I think that's a great call. That's an absolutely great call. Um, there's one person I think I want to bring up real quick, if you don't mind, and I just want to make sure I'm
Mhm.
right. Yeah, and that's Lou Whitaker.
Okay. Yep. I'm familiar with the name.
Now, Lou Whitaker is one of the greatest players I ever watched play that's not in the Hall of Fame. He was the double play tandem with Alan Trammell for when Trammell played short. He didn't always play short, but and I'm going to pull up some stats. I keep pulling up the wrong thing. I'm sorry. Bear with me one sec. Lou, Sweet Lou, they called him. Great second baseman.
Yes.
Here we go. Here we go. Okay, I got my numbers now. Now check this out. We just talked about that war for the last couple people we were talking about, and I brought up Ken Boyer to compare him to Andrew Jones, and they were both at 62 point something, and they're both in the Hall of Fame as far as I'm concerned, right?
Hmm.
Well, Lou Whitaker's WAR is 75.1.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's the highest. I'm pretty sure. I have to double check this. I'm talking out my butt a little bit here, but I'm pretty sure it's the highest WAR of anybody that's not in the Hall of Fame. And digging into his stats a little further. Now he played in an era where the numbers weren't obscene, so this is why he's not in the Hall of Fame, frankly, because it was '70s and he's rookie in '78, played until '95. So he got into the beginning of when the numbers were jumping off the page, but only 244 home runs, 1,084 RBIs, 276 batting average, 7.789 OPS. So they don't jump off the page at you. You know what I mean? But how does a guy like that end up with a 75.1 WAR? Because he was one of the best defenders ever at his position, and he won the Rookie of the Year, 5-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glover, 4-time Silver Slugger, and I don't know how he's not in the Hall of Fame. So I like to bring anytime I was just talking to my buddies before I ever did a podcast in my life. Every time this conversation came up since he's been eligible, which was like '99 or something, I've been talking about Lou Whitaker. I don't know why he's not in there. He should be in. One of these days he'll get there.
Oh, 100%. I think he probably will too. Just because, you know, like you said, you have the community um, uh, representatives, which I like because guys do get a second chance, and it's
Yes.
kind of more of a like a oh I didn't notice this about so and so. But yeah, no, I don't. That's kind of amazing that of his numbers and how he's not in, which very very odd.
Yeah, isn't that something? I'm at some point I'll double check. Oh, wait, I just had it actually. Bum. Highest career WAR, not in the Hall of Fame. It looks like it's Lou Whitaker. Definitely Lou Whitaker at second base. Oh, the only person higher than Lou Whitaker that's not in the Hall of Fame is Kurt Schilling.
Wow, and then that's he would have been if he didn't open his mouth.
Well, yeah, when we were talking about people that pissed off reporters, he's number one on the
Yeah,
list from like 1990
but
on. You're absolutely correct, my friend.
well,
Yep.
he was. I can't. I don't remember. Do you remember his last couple of um years on the season, like on the ballot? Did you hear what happened with this?
Refresh my memory. I'm not sure.
So it was his ninth year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was literally 2 votes away from
Wow.
going into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I didn't realize you got that close. Wow.
And bro, he was close. It was a ridiculous amount of number of him coming in. And he sent out a tweet on social media saying to the reporters, please take me off the ballot. I do not want to go in.
I forgot about that.
So he was a Hall of Famer.
He was such a weirdo, man. Like I
And but but you know what he could have done though? Because you look at the numbers, he is a Hall of Famer. He is 100%. They could have just voted you in and been like, listen, all you had to say was, listen, I'm not comfortable doing a speech. And I'm pretty sure they would just put you in.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
he was he was a Hall of Famer. Like,
Yeah.
I look at Kurt Schilling, and I know it's probably different as a reporter. As a fan, it's probably a big difference. But you have you look at his numbers, and I just think of the greatest moments in his career. 2001 with Arizona.
Mm.
I'm forgetting the year. It might be in '04. The bloody sock game he
I mean,
pitched.
talk about
You,
iconic moments in the history of the game.
like it amazes me that he's not in because he told the people, "Hey, get me off. I don't deserve it."
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Like, yeah, and You think about some of the people that are in with some of their character flaws, and Ty Cobb, and
Yeah,
and I listen. I don't think character should matter at all. If you're a great player, you get in the damn Hall of Fame.
yeah. I think that's yeah,
I mean,
and
I guess there's a line somewhere that I'm not imagining, like mass murder, or you know what I mean, like
right.
maybe that guy doesn't get in the Hall of Fame then. But I don't know, man. Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's a real
It
interesting one.
no, it is, and it kind of bugs me a little bit
Right there
that
with you.
that he was so close, and and like I said, they just got rid of him, which oh, it does bug me.
That's no, it really is wild. Really is wild.
Um, all right, so Andrew Jones, Abreu, um, you know, I know we said people on the ballot, and I want to get your opinion on two guys that I actually ended up circling, and for anyone who's listening, has been with me since the beginning, they would know I did my very, very first podcast, like the first one I've ever done, um, was actually called Baseball What Ifs.
Oh, love it.
And, but I would actually like to revisit it. I mean, that's what I was texting you and Craig earlier today. And two of these guys actually have come up with um, on the ballot. And I want to get your thoughts on it, Al. And I'm looking at middle infield. I think you know where I'm going with this. I'm looking at Troy Tulowitzki
Mm.
and Dustin Pedroia.
Oh, wow. Okay. Fascinating topics for conversation because both incredible numbers while they played, both shortened careers and shortened primes for sure. I mean, my first instinct is to say both incredible players, but neither played long enough.
Mhm.
But I'd have to dig into the stats. So let me pull some stuff up here.
Well, I have their numbers
Oh, hit me.
for both guys. So I guess we'll go with Troy Tulowitzki first because from what I've known, he was like the next Derek Jeter. 290 batting average, 1,391 hits, and he had a career OPS of .856.
That's a tasty number.
And for Pedroia, he had a 290, I think it was 99 now, I can't remember handwriting, average, 1,805 career hits, and his OPS was .804.
Yeah, I mean, so okay, let's go one at a time here. Let's start with Tulowitzki.
Mm-hmm,
So Tulowitzki has two issues. One is the that his prime got cut short by injury and he never really recovered. And the other is the Colorado curse. That and what I mean by that, and I think you probably know what I mean by that, is
mm-hmm.
it follows the stink of playing in Colorado follows people whether it's true or not. And I don't know his home road splits. I know some of the guys are favorable and some aren't. Um, but do you know off the top of your head like anything about his home road splits when he was in Colorado? Because I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but I'm trying to think because I want to think they had to be kind of similar because he also had those 2 years with Toronto where he was actually hitting really really good before the injury bug ended up
Yes,
coming.
but
But
I will say his prime in Colorado, he's hitting over 300 and hitting 30 home
yeah,
runs. His best year in Toronto, he hit 24 home runs and batted 254. But it was that's when those injuries started too. That was the main issue, not that he wasn't great. You know what I mean? He had two
yeah,
years where so man, okay. This is where it really gets tough with Tulo because he had a 5-year run from his first full season in '07 to 2011 that is awesome. The For some reason '08 he stunk, but the other 4 years he was freaking incredible. OPS is over 9, 4 out of those 5 years. Just monster numbers, hitting over 300 a lot of that time or close to it. Just amazing. But then, starting in 2012, this is where it gets tough with Tulo. 2012, he plays 47 games. 2013, he comes back, he plays 126. He bats over 300, OPS over 9. Great. Next year, he only plays 91 games. Those 91 games, he had an OPS over 1,000, or however you say it, over 1.035. So he was awesome, but he only played 91 games. Next year, he plays 128. And then 87, 41, 131, and 66. So starting in 2012 until 2017, he never played more than 131 games, and he only played over 103 times.
Wow. Yeah.
That's
That's
where it gets tricky with him. But the numbers are really good for the time he played. Now there aren't many people in the Hall of Fame with that weren't Negro leaguers or old timers in the dead ball era that got in with 780 RBIs.
yeah. And I don't know. Like I feel so bad for the guy because
Me too.
the injuries were so they were so bad later on, and it was like it's that point where it's definitely the what if, and to even actually make it on the ballot. Like, yes, I understand, like, everyone gets on the ballot, but not everyone makes it.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. He is probably the second biggest what if in baseball. For me and my time, the first one is Grady Sizemore from
Oh, I love it. That's a
Cleveland.
great one.
I think he was. I honestly think if he were to stay healthy with Sizemore, he would have been Mike Trout before Mike Trout even
I,
came into baseball.
I won't dispute it. I mean, he was incredible. Tim Kirkjian went on ESPN and called him, I think it was the next Mickey Mantle. I think is
Yes,
what I'm pretty sure that was the comparison, and he was incredible. That's a great what if, man. That guy would have been awesome, and it's so
yeah,
sad that
and
he got cut so short.
oh, 100%. And and Tua reminds me a lot of him. If it's just the legs were always bad. It seemed like it didn't even seem like towards the end of his career, like people were excited, like it was his thing. But then, opening day came on, and like the headlines would have been like, "Can Tulo stay healthy?" To the point where fans are like, "What's the point? Like, why are we even talking about this guy? Like, let's move
Yeah,
on."
yeah.
And that's it kills me to see that he's not he won't get in. But in my mind, I think if the injury bugs never came on and hurt him, he would definitely be in the Hall of Fame. He'll be a Hall of Famer.
No doubt about it. I'm 100% with you. I don't care if he played in Colorado his whole career.
Yeah.
He was a Hall of Famer, and
One,
yeah,
yeah, 100%.
I'm so with you, man. Yeah, it's just a shame that injury bug got him and just messed up the last few years there for him. But yeah, nah, he was great. And given full health, he's a clear Hall of Famer, man. No doubt.
Yeah. You know what? He might have, definitely playing with what if. He might have actually made it on one of our top 10 as great shortstops.
Oh no,
But he,
I think there's absolutely a case to be made for that. If he got even 4 more healthy seasons, I think he's Hall of Fame.
yeah, no, I agree. And then, so that's Tulo. And then now we're going to go to Pedroia,
Ah,
who I don't like. It was another guy who got lost in the shuffle, but he won early in the season or his career. Rookie of the year, he won the MVP. He was Boston's like next captain,
yep.
and again, it's lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, man. Tale of two, it's like a tale of two careers for Pedroia. Like his first roughly 6, 7 seasons, pretty outstanding, all the way through like 2013. Actually, I mean, no, I take that back. It's really just injuries with him. Like he was, he dipped to 278 in 2014, but that was his lowest batting average his whole career when he played more than 6 games anyway.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, he didn't play long enough. His prime just wasn't long enough because of injury. He hit that 2015 season where he only played 93 games. Played a full season the year after that. Then I don't know why. Do you remember like what happened that he? Because I mean, I'm looking at his career in front of me, and 2018 and 2019, he's 34 and 35, and he's listed as being on the Red Sox, but only playing 3 and 6 games. Was that all injury? I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think it was all injury.
So I mean, that's what did it because if he could have just played, he didn't have the type of power or the type of speed to where he could get away with not playing into his mid to late 30s and get in the Hall of Fame. He had
Yeah,
to accumulate a few more stats, especially not getting to even 2,000 hits.
hmm,
But dude was a player, man. I would, Dustin Pedroia in his prime, put him on my team. Let's go.
yeah. No, I agree. I think he was one of the few that he would hit the ball no matter where he was, and he hustled out of the batter's box.
Yes.
Like he hustled out of there. And from my time, when around the time he was playing, he was definitely. I think you can make a debate from around the time he was playing. He was top two second basemen around that time. Uh, the other one is Robinson Cano.
Yeah, I'd throw
And
Chase Utley in there too.
yeah, no, yeah. So you could have a battle for three best second basemen,
Yeah.
and he was definitely one of them. But it's I don't believe the BS that everyone keeps saying. Where it was like Machado, that play when Machado was back in Baltimore, he slid and clipped Pedroia's knee. I think Pedroia had the injury problems way before then,
Yeah, I
and
don't know if that. I remember that play. I don't know if it had. It might have added to, but I mean, it's documented in his games
yeah,
played. He had injury issues for
yeah,
years, off and on.
right. And I don't know. I feel like he, I don't know. He is just so much, and like you said, it's like there's nothing to really progress that. Oh, he could have played a couple years. He was just always constantly hurt. And since we're talking about these two guys, another one that also comes to mind was David Wright. I think him and Pedroia's
Yeah,
careers are exactly the same.
yeah. I think of David Wright a lot on this kind of stuff. He's a great what if guy because he when that dude was healthy, he was awesome. But boy, he was just never healthy. It seemed like for the last 5 years of his career. It's
Hmm.
like right now you're dealing with a guy like that with what's his face in Milwaukee.
Oh,
What's his name? Dang it, the
Yo,
outfielder. Yeah.
uh, is it Yelich? Are you talking about Yelich?
Yes, thank you, Christian Yelich. Yeah, we're gonna be doing a big old what if with Christian Yelich 5 years, 5 or 10 years from now too. You
Oh
know.
yeah, 100%. I think so. I think a lot with him. Um, and I don't know. It bugs me that like you said, like these guys they get hurt so young, and then it keeps continuing to push, you know, into later in their careers where to the point they're never the same again.
It's a shame. Just injuries stink, man. Like
No, they do.
I don't like when I don't like when a New York Met or a Brave gets hurt. I wasn't all giddy this year that the Braves lost all their important players. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I can't stand it. I
Well,
don't like injuries. I want to see everybody at 100% all the time. It
Oh,
never happens, but it's not. I always root for it because injuries stink, man, and I don't like.
mm,
Oh, another. Who was another? Another. Oh, I was thinking football. Gale Sayers. We talked about that before. Gale Sayers is a
oh yeah.
prime example in football of a guy who was just a. He was the Barry Sanders of his era,
Mm,
and his
ac-
prime got cut short big time. So yeah,
Actually,
injuries stink.
yeah. So the thing about it, do you put Bo Jackson on this list?
Oh, I mean, listen, Bo Jackson. I'll tell you what, man. You know, I'm lucky enough to be old enough to have watched him play, and I watched him play football and baseball. He would have, he could, if the schedule allowed, and it didn't, but if the schedule allowed, and he could have played full seasons in both sports, he could have been a Hall of Famer in both sports without that broken hip. He, uh, he was at, he's, his yards per carry in the NFL he retired and they're over five. That's Hall of Fame worthy right there.
Okay.
He got better and better as he played baseball, and he was good right from the get go, and he was still good after the broken hip. Now, I broke my hip when I was 16 years old. I have a fake hip. I can vouch for how hard it is to play sports. My limited sports career ended with the broken hip. That dude came back and was an all star in baseball after breaking his hip. That's crazy. So yeah, that guy's maybe the best athlete I've ever seen in my life, Jordan.
Oh yeah, 100%. And then I also talk about careers cut short. I also think about the guys who are on verge of Hall of Fame, but then tragedy happened. I always think of Thurman Munson.
Oh, Thurman, that's
Mm,
the such a sad one. Yeah, man.
You
Roy
know, and then
Campanella. Like, what's up with the Yankee catcher?
yes,
You know what I mean?
yep.
Um,
And then here's another thing, and I know people are gonna get mad, but I think if he played longer, he would definitely be on the verge of a Hall of Fame. And I think he played like 2, 3 seasons. But I also think of Jose Fernandez and from Miami.
oh, the guy who died in the boat. That's right.
Yes, I think of him. I think of him a lot every
Oh,
time the Hall of
you
Fame
know
goes up.
that I'm so glad you brought him up because he kind of disappears from my brain every now and then, and he was so good, and that was, I mean, he was 24 years old. I mean, that's
Hmm.
crazy. So sad.
And and what makes it even sadder, and I I I always when Giancarlo Stanton won the MVP that offseason, he got traded to the Yankees.
Yes.
And Jose Fernandez's dream was to play for the New York Yankees. And I
Oh,
guess they said that there was one time where he got before he got traded. Jose said, one day I'm playing for the Yankees. I'm gonna be the ace, and
man.
you're gonna be my outfielder. We're gonna play with the Yankees together. So
Wow.
you
Wow.
know And I don't know if it's true or not, but I hear that every season that Stan has played, he's always has something that reminds him of Jose. And he's told people that we're playing together in New York.
That's a great one, man. I'm so glad you brought him up because,
You
man, that
know,
was just so sad.
he was on the verge. Like I
Oh, he
said, I
was.
think he was. I don't know. Like you could have argued about the way he celebrated and like I don't care. But this was a guy who came over from the Dominican. His I think it took up until year three to have his grandmother come over from the Dominican Republic to watch him.
Wow.
This dude went through so much, and he's just expressing his love and excitement to play professional baseball. And
Yeah, I don't have any problem with
I
that
don't
kind of stuff.
no, and I think of him a lot. Like
That's a great
that's
one, Jordan. I'm so
yeah,
glad you brought him up.
yeah. So get a little like bring teary eyes to the viewers, but no,
Yeah, no doubt,
it's
but it's a good one and it's well worth it.
yeah.
And I'll say this, by the way, about his celebratory style. The whole league is like that now.
Mhm.
Like he was just a little ahead of his time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Which yeah,
I love it. Great call. Great call.
thank you. All right, um, I know we've been on for a while, but there is one more person I know you know I'm gonna go with Al because we mentioned it um, before we hit record, and that is I'm gonna call him the late great Pete Rose. Do you think we
Uh,
finally get him on a ballot?
Man, I it sucks if it would take him dying for it to happen, but I think that might be actually finally get it done. Um, Listen, this dude is a Hall of Famer. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Even the people that have been actively trying to keep him off the ballot forever know it. And listen, does it suck that he bet on baseball? Yes. But I mean, there's been lots of weird things happen with people over the years, and there's lots of people in the Hall of Fame that have done weird things. So just put him in. He's one of the greatest players in the history of the game. Charlie Hustle, the whole thing. Uh I mean, I don't know what have we heard anything from the current commissioner about this issue?
I mean, the only thing I've known was he gave his condolences. I haven't heard anything from a Hall of Fame standpoint.
Man, what do you think? Do you think this will get it? Like, you think this will be the impetus to get him in, or is it just going to take
S-
decades and time? And
Sadly, I think so.
good. Well,
Um,
at least it'll
I
happen
don't
finally.
I don't know if it'll happen this year because maybe like they already had the ballot and
I agree
you
with that.
know maybe next year because I actually looked at like first ballot Hall of Famers for next year and they're not really good. I think you're looking at I think like some names were like Ryan Braun and someone else I can't remember, but
Uh huh.
so I think maybe that'll be the year where they go on and be like, hey, we'll put Pete on, and if you want to vote for him, go ahead and vote. Every time his name comes up, right? It reminds me of a story of Joe Morgan.
Ah.
And I don't know if you ever heard of the story, but Joe Morgan was, I believe, he was the vice president, or he was the assistant to the president of the Hall of Fame,
Oh.
and he went on and this was like after he did his stint with ESPN and he continued to work for baseball through the Hall of Fame and he did an interview, a live television interview where he brought up he's like I asked 10 well-known Hall of Famers but he didn't name them. He's like 10 well-known Hall of Famers and I asked them, hey, you know no, this was around the time when like Bonds and Clemens were on the ballot, and they were getting like 60 something crazy, like 67 and 68% of the votes, and where people legitimately thought they had a shot. And he's like, I asked those 10 Hall of Famers if Bonds and Clemens ever got in, would you sit behind them? And all 10 them shook their head and be like, nope. And they're like, well, if Pete Rose ever got into the Hall of Fame, would you sit behind him? And they said, oh, absolutely, we would, because he deserved
Yeah.
it. And it bothers me that I know this will be an argument, but you have the all time steals, the all time saves, the guy who played the most consecutive games in baseball history. They're all in the Hall of Fame, but you don't have the all time hit king in the Hall of Fame.
I know it's insane. It's absolutely crazy. It never made a ton of sense. Now, and listen, Pete didn't make it easy on the commissioners. He was Pete was a weird dude, and he would about how he would go to the Hall of Fame ceremony every year and set up shop right down the road and sign autographs for money.
Yeah,
I mean, like Pete did some weird stuff, and he was a real pain in the butt to the commissioners. But I don't care. It does, none of that should matter. Like all the Hall of Fame is for the best players of all time, and Pete Rose is in that category a million times out of a million. And yeah, it's just this. This has gotten. It's just become a kind of a pissing contest between Pete and the how many different commissioners? I guess at least three. Um,
I want to say that that sounds about right.
yeah, something like that. and now you're on Rob Manfred. And Manfred, by the way, I was looking while we were talking about it, and Manfred has declined him multiple times, including the last time in 2023. So we know
Hmm.
how he feels about it when he was alive. Hopefully, at least he'll soften on after Pete's passing, because he deserves to be in. I mean, it's the numbers are insane. The
Yeah,
numbers
no, it
are
is.
just insane.
And it's like you said, he was definitely the great players to do it, and he played multiple positions, which is crazy to think about. I think he played every position except for catcher. Um,
Yeah, it's
which
hard, and it's hard to figure out. By the way, quick side note: hard to figure out what position to put him in on our as we go through our all-time position lists.
no, it is, which is insane because he played so many positions, but he had so many great moments as well.
Yes.
And one of my I shouldn't say like one of my favorite, but because it kind of sounds messed up, but like one of the best moments like that I think of when I think of Pete Rose, besides breaking Ty Cobb's hit streak, um, was that play he made in the I think it was the All Star game where he ran over the catcher
Oh, Ray
and
Fosse. Yep.
he played hard, and I remember to this day, and you know. To a point, I'm thinking to myself like I agree with Pete Rose, but then like yes, Fosse's career was cut short, but he's like, if you don't have the ball, don't block the plate. He's like, you don't want to get wrong. Like he
Yeah, that was
was,
ace.
yeah, he played tough.
That's the rules of the game, man. And yes, and to back up what you were saying a second ago, I found the stats. So check this out, man. The dude played one, two, three, four, five, six different positions. And he played the least amount of games at center field. He only played 73 there. But the other five, check it out. Right field, he played 589 games. Left field, 673. Third base, 634. Second base, 627. And then the one I guess that I have to consider him personally on when we're doing our lists, I'd have to consider him a first baseman because he played the most games there, 939.
Wow, damn.
That's wild. He played over 500 games at five positions.
Yeah, that's insane. Kind of now, you know what? Now that I do that, now I might have to rewrite my first baseman list. Oh,
Yeah, because honestly, I had to look at that to know what to do with him because when I think of Pete Rose, I just think of him all over the place. By the time he was playing with the Phillies, which is when I was aware of him the most, because he started his career before I was born, um, and he was pushing 40 by the almost. He was mid 30s by the time he got to Philly, but he was pretty much played first base for the Phils.
mm.
So that's how I always thought of him, but I didn't know where it's stacked up games played wise with the rest of his career because I remember he came in as I think he started as a second baseman if I remember right. So yeah, Pete. Well, hopefully he gets in, man. He deserves it.
Oh yeah, 100%. And yeah, it's sad that it has to go this way, but I think honestly fans will just be happy that um he's finally in because I think he deserves it. It's one of he's probably one of the most non-P guys that are now in the Hall of Fame that you know, like I said, that is just not in, and he deserves it, and he needs to have a plaque in Cooperstown.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't think it's overstating it, Jordan, to say that it's the most glaring omission in any Hall of Fame in any sport.
No, yes, I agree with that.
Right on.
All right, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. That was fun, man. I really enjoyed that.
Me too, man. Thank you. I'm glad you caught me. I'm glad I was free and able to do this. And thank you for bringing me in as always. That was a blast. I could talk all day long about that kind of stuff. It's so much fun.
Oh yeah, me too, and we'll definitely have to do it again. Hopefully we could find some different things where we can have you on. Because yeah, that was a very enjoyable conversation, and I had fun for however long we went with.
Yeah, back at you, my man. Back at you. You hit me up anytime for any topic.
Awesome. That I would have to start thinking more of topics now.
Love it. Love it. That's great.
All right. Well, you have anything else to add, Al? Before we wrap it up?
No, I appreciate it. I'm good to go. Just, I guess, check out our the podcast I do with Craig on YouTube and Spotify. Perks Recap Podcast. They usually come out on Wednesday. There's a week review of every week in the NFL and a preview where we pick the games, and then we hold ourselves accountable when we review it the following week.
Awesome. So if you're a football fan, go check that out, and then hopefully, but we'll have to get together with Craig. We do our top 10 greatest catchers of all time. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that'll be a blast. I know Craig's schedule changed, but we'll get it worked out and get her in there. I can't wait.
Oh, neither can I, and this has been fun. So if you haven't gone checking out, we've done shortstop and we've done third baseman already. Those were a blast. Learned about a bunch of different guys from a bunch of different eras. And catcher is, like I said, is next, but we did do shortstop and third base.
No doubt. Enjoyed the heck out of both of them. We all learned something because every one of us brought something to the table that somebody else didn't know about, and it was very fun. And I can't wait to do it again with catcher and keep running through the diamond with all the positions eventually.
Oh yeah, no, we'll definitely we'll get to that.
Love it. Love it.
All right, well, thank you all for joining me. I appreciate it and good to have you on as always. And from me, I will wrap it up, and I will see you all in the next one.